Do you guys have any shows? I mean, you talked about Prog Power,
Yes.
playing that. Any other shows and anything else that the band has going on? Do you have playing any more festivals? Do you have like any maybe short tours coming up? Maybe talk about what you have currently coming up.
We have a tour, 2-week tour in Australia, which is a pretty different one. And we have a show in Sweden on a small kind of cozy festival, which is going to be hopefully pretty fun. We just did Sweden Rock Festival, which is I think the best festival in Sweden. It's 45,000 people, and everything is about heavy metal. The sun is always there, and it was great. So we're talking about doing some UK shows. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. Everybody here is on vacation right now, so something going to happen, but I don't know what for the moment.
Awesome, man. So any bands, like, have you been, I know you produced a lot of records back in the day. Are there any bands that you're maybe working with or looking to work with in a recording studio? Just out of curiosity, have you been doing any of that kind of work, lately?
Yes, I have. I'm always in the studio, to be honest. Not now, but because we finally have sunshine here, so I'm gonna go out when we are done with this. But yeah, I worked a lot with this band called Obscura. The tech death, most technical stuff I worked with my whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is some other stuff also, of course, but I always forgot. Let's see what we have done.
Yeah, Obscura, I've definitely heard them.
Yeah, of course. We also, I did a Japanese band. It's a girl band, young girls, super skilled, called Brider. That you should check out. They're really good. That's also the band we're going to tour with in Australia.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, and there is this. They have this. We played in Japan for 24 years ago, more or less 22. We was there on 3 tours, and I see it like the Japanese culture it's opening up. They were very strict before. It's just like this what you call it, hierarchy thing, and now they are like losing up, but they still have this super kindness. They are like super lovely girls, so that's going to be fun.
Yeah, Japanese, they've always loved their heavy metal bands. That's for sure. It's always been, even when like the music was kind of down everywhere else, they just stuck with it. You know, throughout the bad times, as you would want to say. But Japan they've always had an appreciation for the music, which is interesting because, when bands couldn't fill like a place that held 50 people, they can go to Japan and play to like, quite a few actually. So I always thought that whole market, especially in the 90s, it was still pretty healthy for a lot of heavy metal bands throughout the dark ages, as we would say.
Yeah. But there are also so many people.
Oh no, I gotcha. No, I get it. So a couple more questions for you before we get done here. You got a tour and everything coming up. For you, with this band, have you? I know you've had this album. I mean, did you have it where? I mean, were a lot of these songs written for a while before you recorded this? Have you maybe started writing for another record? What's the future hold for you? After these shows get played.
We actually did 25 songs for the album. We recorded 14 of them, so we actually have an EP coming out probably end of this year.
Okay.
And there is some stuff in the stuff that we ditched that is really good, but we felt like, we need to work on this stuff. This is a really cool guitar riff, but, it's not enough. and we had a set date and everything. So yes, and we're not going to try to wait another 7 years before we do a new album. We're going to try to do it earlier.
That was going to be my next question. We're going to wait 7 years, but you know, again, I think, like I said, you know, I'll end it off here, and I think the album is very good. I would say that, you know, from the production to the record itself, I mean, it sounds great. I think personally, for me, of any record that you've done, you know, as like a producer, I think it's one of the better sounding albums, one of the best sounding albums you've ever done. And just it's, you know, the one thing I like about this is that a lot of these bands will send stuff, and a lot of them will use like the same plugins and all these same templates, and these productions all sound the same, and yours actually has that feel where it doesn't feel like that. You know, I mean, it just feels like, you know, it sounds so much different now, I guess, than what a lot of people send me. And, you know, you actually, as somebody doing what you do, put effort into making the album sound good, as opposed to, I can't even tell you how many times I get a record, and I complained about this because some of these bands that are even on labels will send me stuff that, you know, get it from a publicist, and you're like, man, they use the same drums, the same drum template that somebody else did. You know, so you know,
I think that's the problem. Yeah, I'm like that. I can be like, we have a Swedish band called Evergrey, which I think is really good, but I'm kind of, when I hear the first snare drum hit, it's like, oh, that snare drum I heard 100 times before, so I just turn off because I cannot listen to it, because the snare drum sounds good, but it's just like, don't use it again and again. I kind of use templates, but my templates are always empty, and I mix around with different kind of plugins and so on, and I always try to build every mix from scratch. Yeah. So maybe I have some go-to stuff, but it's always kind of, you know, they are zeroed everything, and then I tweak until I think it sounds good, instead of using templates. I know that several guys do that stuff. It's fast, it's easy, it sounds good, but in the end, I remember this guy Thomas Skogsberg, who did the Entombed stuff back in the 90s. He also had this setup. Everything was ready. You just go there, play, done. Thank you. Album done. Everything sounded the same, and I'm not a big fan of that. It's like when I do the HammerFall album. It's like, oh, the previous album sounded really good. You're gonna use that album as a template, and I'm like looking at Oscar and asking, "Oh, you're gonna write the same song 2 times?" No, he said, no. You're getting better as a band. I need to get better as a, you know, mixing guy. So I have to do it better every time.
Yeah. Well, HammerFall is the first metal band that my son saw. First ever heavy metal show that the first ever heavy metal band he saw play live was HammerFall. So there's a little bit of trivia for you. But, you know, it's interesting you say that, because one of the things I liked about the production on this new album, I loved the guitar tone. I don't know what it was, but just the guitar sound in general on this record was just I think it was the best guitar tone I think I've ever heard you catch on an album. That's just my opinion. But one of the things that really stood out for me, I remember when the first song came out, it was just something about the guitar tone on the production. I don't know what it was. It just hit me, and I'm like, wow, that sounds awesome. And so that stuck out to me, you know, on this album.
Okay, thank you very much. It's just funny. I have a relative. He played guitar in Pretty Maids.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he contacted me and said, like, the bass drum on this album is the best I ever heard.
Yeah.
Oh, if you didn't like the guitar sound, I think the previous album, the guitar tone was better.
Yeah. Well, I like the guitar tone on this album probably better than any record you've done for Dream Evil, honestly. But I remember that stood out for me when that first single came out, and I'm listening to this. I'm like, man, the guitar tone is pretty good. It's pretty awesome, actually. And, then obviously you get into the song, but that was like one of the first things that hit me when I first listened to this album. It's definitely the guitar tone. And the fact the drums didn't sound like everybody else's. So there's that aspect as well. So I got one more question for you though, before we get off here. Any last words to fans that are going to be checking out this interview?
Hello. No, I'm really terrible to this kind of questions. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoy the album.
Yeah, great. And again, the album's good. Definitely one of the better ones you've done. Really enjoy it. And hey, you know what? I thank you for coming on the show and spending some time here, because you're definitely have been one of my favorite musicians and record producers that I've followed for a very long time. So it was great to have you on the show.
Thank you. It was a pleasure for me too.